Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is staring at a ceiling. They have a phone within arm's reach. They have food in the kitchen. They have every song ever recorded available in seconds. And yet they feel it. That hollow, restless, crawling feeling that has no name in polite conversation, but everyone knows exactly what it is. Boredom. You probably think of it as a problem to be solved, a gap to be filled, a minor inconvenience of modern life. But what if boredom is not a flaw in the human experience? What if it is the engine that built civilization itself? This is not a metaphor. The real answer is far stranger than you think. Your brain was not designed for the world you live in. It was shaped across hundreds of thousands of years in environments that were brutally unpredictable. Environments where doing nothing was never really an option. Yet, even in those environments, there were gaps. Moments between the hunt and the meal. Hours after the fire was built and before sleep came. Stretches of quiet that the ancient human brain had no template for. And in those gaps, something happened. Something that changed everything. Psychologist Sandy Mann at the University of Central Lancashire has spent years studying what boredom actually does to the brain. Her research found something that should stop you cold. When people are bored, their minds do not go blank. They go wide. Boredom triggers a specific kind of mental wandering that activates the brain's default mode network, the same network responsible for creativity, imagination, and the construction of new ideas. In other words, when your brain has nothing to do, it does not rest. It invents. Think about what that means for a mind sitting beside a fire 40,000 years ago. There is no word yet for what that person is experiencing. No concept of leisure, no philosophy of rest. There is only the fire, the dark beyond it, and the strange restless feeling that something should be happening but is not. And in that stillness, something moves in the mind. A new shape, a new connection, a new question that has never been asked before. Because here is the thing about boredom that almost no one talks about. It is not the absence of thought. It is the pressure that forces thought into new containers. Archaeologist April Nowell at the University of Victoria studies what she calls cognitive modernity, the point in human prehistory when the brain began producing truly abstract thought. And one of the most striking findings in her field is that the explosion of symbolic behavior in early humans, cave paintings, carved figures, jewelry made from shells, does not appear to correspond to any dramatic improvement in living conditions. In fact, some of the richest symbolic traditions appear in populations that were, by any material standard, just getting by. The art did not emerge from comfort. It emerged from the gap, from the moment when the immediate problem was solved and the mind had nowhere practical to go. Boredom created art, but that is just the beginning. Follow the thread forward in time. Ancient agricultural settlements, the first ones, around 10,000 years ago in what is now the Fertile Crescent, did not appear because farming was obviously better than hunting. For most early people, farming was harder, more tedious, and produced a less varied diet. Evolutionary biologist Samuel Bowles at the Santa Fe Institute has argued that early agriculture likely required significantly more labor per calorie than foraging. So why did humans stick with it? Why did they not simply walk back into the wild? Part of the answer is social. Part of it is environmental, but part of it, a part that almost never gets mentioned, is this. Agriculture created a new kind of surplus time, time that was not immediately consumed by survival. And in that time, the bored human mind began to build things it did not strictly need. Temples, records, laws, stories. The first writing systems were not poetry. They were grain inventories. But the mind that learned to write grain inventories was the same mind that eventually wrote the Epic of Gilgamesh. The boredom of administration created the technology of language, and language changed what it was possible to think. You are a direct descendant of that bored mind. Now, consider something closer to your own experience. Think about the last time you had a truly original idea. Not a solution to a problem someone put in front of you. A genuine, unprompted, surprising thought. Where were you? Almost certainly not at a desk. Almost certainly not mid-task. Research by Benjamin Baird at the University of California, Santa Barbara showed that people who were given a demanding task to complete came up with significantly fewer creative insights than people who were allowed to daydream. More striking, those who were assigned a deliberately boring task performed best of all on subsequent creativity measures. The boredom was not the obstacle to the insight. The boredom was the mechanism. Your brain needs the drag. It needs the friction of nothing happening in order to start generating something unexpected. And yet, the modern world has declared war on that friction. Look at what has changed in the last 15 years. The average American adult now spends more than 4 hours per day on their phone. In 2004, before smartphones existed, studies on boredom found that people experience it frequently and in long stretches. By 2019, the same researchers found that reported boredom was declining, not because life had become more interesting, but because every gap had been plugged. Every moment of potential emptiness was now filled with a scroll, a notification, a clip, a recommendation. The mind never had to wait anymore. And quietly, without anyone announcing it, one of the most generative states in human cognitive history began to disappear. This is not nostalgia. This is neuroscience. There is a concept in brain science called incubation. It refers to the period between when you stop actively working on a problem and when the solution suddenly appears. Every scientist, every writer, every engineer who has ever had a breakthrough in the shower or on a walk has experienced incubation. And what incubation requires? What it absolutely cannot function without is a period of low demand, mind-wandering time. Not sleep, not meditation, not productivity, something closer to boredom, the idle walk, the long drive, the staring out the window at nothing. These are not wasted moments. They are the factory floor where your best thinking gets assembled while you are not watching. When you plug every gap, you do not just prevent boredom. You prevent the thoughts that only boredom can produce. Think about what civilization has lost to that trade-off, or think about what you personally have lost. How many ideas have you not had because you pulled out your phone the moment the bus stopped moving? How many problems have you not solved because you never let the mind drift into that uncomfortable, directionless, productive territory? You will never know. That is what makes it so easy to ignore. Here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. The platforms designed to fill your boredom are not neutral. They are engineered by some of the most sophisticated behavioral scientists on Earth to be just interesting enough that you do not leave, but never interesting enough to actually satisfy. They are designed to sit precisely at the edge of boredom without tipping into it. They are a boredom trap. They simulate engagement while blocking the cognitive conditions that engagement actually requires. You feel like you are doing something. Your brain never gets the nothing it needs. The cave painter in the firelight had no such trap. The emptiness was real, and so the mind had to fill it from the inside. Sandy Mann's research at Lancaster went further than identifying what boredom does to creativity. She also asked subjects to describe what they most wanted to do when bored. The answers were remarkably consistent across age groups and demographics. People wanted to do something that mattered. They wanted connection. They wanted to make something. They wanted to find a purpose that the boring moment was forcing them to confront. Boredom is not asking you to be distracted. It is asking you what you actually care about. It is the only honest question your brain ever asks when no one else is in the room. And most of the time, instead of answering it, you look at your phone. Now, go back to that ceiling. Back to that person lying there with every convenience within reach, feeling the crawl of nothing. Maybe that moment is not a failure of your environment. Maybe it is an invitation. Your ancient brain, having solved enough of the immediate problems, trying to do what it has always done when the fire is built and the dark is quiet, trying to generate something the world has never seen, trying to ask a question that does not yet have a name. Every cave painting began with someone staring at a wall and not knowing what to do next. Tonight, when the boredom comes, and it will come, you get to choose what happens in the gap, not what your phone chooses for you, what you choose, what that restless, ancient, impossibly creative mind of yours finally gets the silence to say. The person staring at the ceiling right now might not feel like a force of history, but boredom, it turns out, never felt like anything at all, right up until it changed everything.